next speaker is James Delingpole. James is the London Executive Editor of Breitbart.com, and he has been voted the best political blogger in the world.
True. Apparently.
It's a great achievement. He is a columnist for The Spectator and has written for The Times and The Daily Telegraph. He is also an author and novelist and has written How to Be Right, the essential guide to making lefty liberals history. And another of his great works is Welcome to Obama Land. I have seen the future, and it doesn't work. James is also a prominent climate change skeptic and has written extensively on this subject, for which we are grateful. He brings fresh insights to our discussion today, as he is a member of the UK Independence Party. He has also described himself as being on reasonably good friends while at Oxford with both David Cameron and Boris Johnson. Ladies and gentlemen, James Delingpole.
Thank you very much for that lovely introduction. And I can already see you're a really lovely, warm, sympathetic audience. So thank you for that. I hope I'm not betraying any secrets when I tell you that last night I bumped into one of my all-time political heroes, Mr. Jacob Rees-Mogg, in the lobby of a hotel. And I said to him, you know what, Jacob, I'm kind of looking forward to the Gotterdammerung, which is going to take place in 2015, when we are going to elect as Prime Minister somebody that nobody wants. It is going to be an epic disaster. Men will say openly that Christ and his saints slept. But it will be exciting times for, well, certainly if you're an irresponsible journalist like me, who relishes disaster and gloom and chaos. But Jacob, being a sensible kind of fellow, brought me up short. He said, yes, this is all very well, but there's no guarantee that after those 4 or 5 years of hell, when Christ and his saints sleep, that we're going to get a revived kind of Margaret Thatcher-style revolution, which is going to make everything nice and better. And he's right, because he's a much more sensible fellow than I am. He's a politician and a great mind, whereas I'm a sort of gadfly, really. And as an example of my gadflyishness, I know that there are some ardent UKIPers here, and I know that there are some Conservatives here as well. I imagine Conservatives on the kind of more libertarian, anti-Europe kind of side of things. And I can tell you that I love both factions, and I actually belong to both factions. I think I am still a member of the Conservative Party as well as UKIP, which I did it mainly to annoy the Conservatives. And it's probably technically illegal, but nevertheless I am. And another reason for that, apart from my responsibility, is that I have lots of friends in both parties. Farage, he is a hero. He's very entertaining. I want to see him in Parliament. I don't want him to see on the margins in the European Union. I want to see him here, causing trouble. And equally, I think of my local MP, Chris Heaton-Harris. He's a good man. He's an anti-wind farm campaigner. Can I really vote against him? I don't know. I don't know which one I'm going to vote. But I like Chris. He's a good man. Others, Steve Baker. He's a good man. He's a Conservative. Jacob Rees-Mogg. I'm assuming he's not about to make a dramatic announcement at the end of the speech. Because that would really liven up there. But Jacob is like Owen Paterson, the man I used to call the Minister of Sound. He's now the ex-Minister of Sound, not because he stopped being sound, but because he is now an ex-Minister. Owen Paterson is a hero, and he is a Conservative. And then finally, I give you the Gove. Everyone loves Gove. Well, I mean, apart from the wrong people. Everyone, so it would be awful to think that, well, it is awful to think that these two groups are being split asunder by petty politics. I think ideology is more important, ultimately, than petty politics. And I think that Margaret Thatcher understood that. She was a woman on a mission. She totally got it. She did not believe that politics is the art of the possible. I hate the idea that politics is the art of the impossible. I believe that politics should be the art of the impossible and making it possible. Yeah. Is that foolish and naive of me? Well, possibly it is, but I look at my historical heroes, among them Nelson and Admiral Lord Cochrane. And both of these great naval commanders adopted the same technique in the early period of their career. When they were commanding lowly frigates and they came upon an enormous Spanish or French ship of the line, did they go, well, actually, this doesn't make any sense, we're going to get killed here? No, they attacked that sodding Frenchie, and they took the Frenchie and destroyed it, or took the prize money, even better. This is where I believe that we should be. We should think big. We shouldn't be saying, well, we made an accommodation with the Liberal Democrats. It had to be that way. I don't buy into that shit. I really don't, actually. I think it would be much more sensible to have risked a minority government for a while. I don't want to name names, but I've been at dinner parties attended by the sort of people who are part of the Cameron programme. And I've just sat there, aghast and on the verge of vomiting at the sort of compromise that I've heard being voiced, that you don't understand. It's the Liberal Democrats' fault. Well, no, it's not. Because you look, for example, at one of my particular hobby horses. Can I mention energy policy and environmentalism? When I was a child, one of the processes for me about growing up has been the process of the scales falling from my eyes. When I was a young chap at school and then at Oxford, I thought there was this wonderful establishment full of sound, sensible people, intelligent people who did the right thing regardless, because they were part of the establishment and that was the establishment's job. But then I look at Parliament now, and I look at what some members of the Conservative Party are doing with regards to wind policy, renewable energy and stuff. And I look at people like Greg Barker and Tim Yeo and Lord Devon, and I think, who are you people? You slime balls, you sluts. What are you doing? Carpeting the most beautiful landscape on earth, with bat chomping, bird slicing, eco crucifixes. These things. These monstrosities make no economic sense. They make no social sense. They divide communities. I've experienced this myself in Northamptonshire. You know, people don't talk to each other anymore. You know, if they're the farmer who wants to make 30 grand a year by blighting the view for miles around, this divides communities. It's very, very sad. It divides communities even more than... I'm not going to talk about hunting, my other hobby, so I'll say that for another occasion. It saddens me greatly that we currently have a Conservative Party which is not doing very conservative things. And I recognise the good things that they've done. I recognise that the deficit is being reduced. But I'm not sure that having the English countryside blighted for the next 25 years is a price I'm prepared to pay for that. My prediction for what's going to happen in 2015, well, I'm still kind of banking on the Goss Demerara. And I think the only way of averting this is, I'm afraid, what Dan Hannan was arguing in the Mail today. I know there were UKIPers here over whose dead bodies this will happen. And it's weird to find myself being the reasonable, pragmatic one for a change. But isn't it a bizarre situation where we see in the opinion polls quite clearly that this country is swinging right? When you put the UKIP vote and the Conservative vote together, we have a massive majority, well, certainly a decent working majority. And although as a journalist and a troublemaker, it excites me to think that we might have a Miliband regime of terror, and it will be really, really awful. You think of the people in the Labour Party. You think Ed Balls. You think, well, you look at Ed Miliband. I mean, they're a frightful shout. We really don't want them ruining our country. We all agree with that, I think. Yeah. Well, I think the only way around this problem is if we find some sort of accommodation between the two parties, both parties, which I kind of love, and I hope that you do too. Thank you.